All right, we are ready.
Ready? All right. First of all, the agenda is 2026 school priorities. Okay, as we typically done, all this time of year, wanted to look at our school board aims, school priorities for the upcoming year, and I thought it would be a good thing to do just sort of circle back a little bit into our
Sometimes it just needs to wake up. I'll forward it for now, and then it'll probably start working.
Yeah. So this is sort of how we get our school district from community input, rewinding all the way back to the report we had in 2022 that informed our strategic directions, that informed our operational plan, our strategy team we have today, and we're sort of that group's charge is to operationalize that plan. And so we have a set of goals, and I made copies of these documents for you. The goals is about 10 pages. But if you want to take one, if you want to email them to you, you've seen them before, but if you need a refresher, you'll see it to this document. Goals are more specific and measurable, so they say things like, this year we will do this, or we'll do this from this to this. And that's where action kind of comes about, and the results, the outcomes are mutual. Sort of just have various plans on paper. So that's how our process kind of works from up and down that, and then looking at where the board's work fits in this. So again, back to that community voice, our strategic directions. That top row is essentially what I just showed you. This board work sort of serves as a parallel or foundational piece to that. So these are things that the boards are keeping specific attention to or specific priority to, and as the board does that governance work, and you evolve and through that training and programs, we say not what that role of the board is, but these priorities are on page sit right alongside the operational plans for that work. Hand in glove. So if we start by taking a look back at last year.
No? Okay.
These were the aims that we set last year. Hard copy in front of you. The first one was improve student achievement for all students. I have a column there for what strategic direction is aligned with, what we can measure and status. And when you go through these, you keep an eye on them, and there's updates throughout the year. But I feel really good about where we landed. You saw recently data on star reading and math, and I think every year that every year for the past 5 or 6 years, I think we have seen less and less classroom variability. That's something that if you were in the room when I was interviewed, that was one of the things I talked about really wanting to do here, is to ensure that if you were, taking Algebra 1 and put it in the SPAN perspective, you're taking Algebra 1 at the middle school or Big Fork or Grand Rapids High School, you're having a similar experience. And the place where we're seeing that first is in language arts. If you go to a third grade classroom in either of our 3 elementary buildings where that's being taught, you're going to tell, you'll know you're in the same district. And we can have a kid, I really believe this, transition from east to Cohasset or Cohasset to Big Fork, and within a matter of days, be right on track, because the teacher is doing a good job of teaching towards the same outcomes, same materials, maybe with their own approach. But that's really important. And in the curriculum world, we talk about a guaranteed and viable curriculum. And the guaranteed part is, this is what we should be able to look at our school board, our parents, our community, and say, this is what your kid's getting. And the viable part is, can we actually get this done in the amount of time we have? So we made just a good example on Bible. We made a shift at the middle school with the curriculum, the English language arts curriculum there, towards a model that's more geared around a 50-minute class period versus 80 minutes that you would have now. So, because at the end of the day, the teacher has to, put it on a piece of paper, but the teacher has to actually go to get it done. The second bullet was React, and we worked through React 1.0, had an MOU for that. Teachers got trained in version 1. We're at 100% of our teachers have been trained in what they need to be trained in. Our pairs have been trained in what they need to be trained in. So that's complete. And not only am I grateful for the fact that we were able to get through that, but I think our MOU really did a good job of laying the groundwork for setting expectations and served as a model for a lot of other districts. Teachers again did a great job of coming alongside that, and our union did a good job of supporting that. This year we're in React 2.0, so this is a whole other batch of teachers that has to get trained. This is primarily focused on secondary. For us, the state left some up to districts to determine. It said anybody that teaches reading or doesn't need or convention secondary has to be trained. Some other special ed pieces they have to be trained. We in our district are requiring science and social studies teachers to be trained as well, because those two subject areas are especially content rich. Like there's a lot of reading that goes into social studies and science. So those teachers will be trained. It's not nearly as intensive as the teachers that are teaching kids how to read. But the secondary teachers will know a lot more about reading, how kids learn to read, how to help them with reading problems. Our secondary teachers will know more about that than ever before. And that's coming out of the React. Science we talked about, math you've heard much about at these support meetings too. So that aim I feel good about where we landed. 3, I gave you a full report on Grava in June, and so I included that in there. But I feel like we accomplished what we set out to accomplish. We hit those indicators. It's been very interesting though. We've had a couple different meetings with high school counselors, and they've been super great about saying we accomplished year 1, and there's a lot of ways that we can be better. And Sean's been digging into that already. I feel like I'm really glad we have someone who's going to be doing that work every day, because there are a lot of things that we need to improve on from a system standpoint, especially so fast. So I think that's just going to continue to get better. Any questions so far? Feeding myself here. I should stop. Well, just interrupt me. This is my wife has a no blurring zone, no blurring rule in 5th grade. Because blurring in 5th grade can be problematic. Blur here, so feel free to interrupt me. Monitor and supporting work with strategy team. You've seen reports from them throughout the year, as well as the goal set here that you can take a look at if you haven't yet. So a lot of good work being done there. That team continues to evolve. One of our aims last year was to plan and execute a community engagement process, and spent a lot of time on the forward, and I think overall that was a good process, and that work continues. One of our aims was to develop and implement a long-term plan for other post-employment benefits. We just kind of heard the report from that at our last meeting, so we accomplished what we set out to do there. And the last bullet was around advocacy. And so I put a link to our priorities from last year there. We'll soon develop our priorities for 2027, because it will be important. I think, in an election year like this, when everybody's being elected, it'll be really important that those folks that are campaigning understand what we need earlier. And knowing even during the session, that gets refined as we learn more. But at least a preliminary list of things that we know that are going to be important. we know unemployment insurance is gonna be a big deal. Like, that's gonna hit us right in the mouth. We know the compensatory, the task force is gonna make their recommendation, we're finalizing that, in like 2 weeks. And that's gonna go to the legislature on October 1st. They can throw it out. We need to listen to what the task force did, and it would really help our school district and many, many, many others, and ultimately it would help kids. So anyway, and then I think documenting, scheduling, getting strategic with who's talking to when, so that we have a really good cadence and a really good approach to that legislative advocacy. Continue. But I feel like we had a number of folks from our district testify at the legislature in 2026. So I feel like we had a voice, and some things I think we could see come to fruition because of that voice.
In this election year, have we, I know I missed the last board meeting, but have we had any current candidates come to either meet with you or at something that we're talking about?
The only candidate that we have that isn't an incumbent, Mr. Marty is, but the only non-incumbent candidate that we've had engage has been Brian Fuller.
No, I'm sorry, for the legislature.
Oh,
Candidates for the legislature. Has anybody come to the meetings, talked or engaged with us at all yet?
No.
Okay. No. I would be curious to see if that happens, because I would imagine that we're one of the larger districts in their areas.
We are the largest district, yes. Yeah.
If you're listening.
Yeah. Ben Davis has Brainerd, that Brainerd is bigger than us, but other than, somebody like Ben goes way down there. It's very nice. All right, so Brainerd. Okay. I'm here to Duluth, Boulevard.
And I think it's incumbent upon us to speak to those candidates as they're. I imagine they're pretty busy campaigning right now.
I mean, it might be useful. It's something I could probably do this to invite them to a meeting. See if it comes.
Yeah, I know. I posed that question before, and I know other entities do that with senators written in, but usually September, October, or something.
Yeah.
But in that discussion, what's not an election year, sounds it.
That's something we can work on, scheduling some lead time to do that anyway, so it's very good.
The primary single and wanted to come in and see.
He is the Congress, candidate for Congress.
He's running against Trevor.
Right.
Primary, but he did.
He did reach out. He didn't come to the violence, no. So those were did Melissa have her hand up? So that one.
It wasn't, I checked, but I don't believe so. I think we had a little blip in the power or something.
Okay, so that's where we landed on 25, 26. Rather than starting with a blank sheet of paper, I put some ideas down. These are board priorities, board aims, not superintendents. Obviously, I think this is a collaborative piece of work, but these are some ideas that I had, and I guess I'd like to hear your reaction to these, things that you think we could add or amend or like strengthen or back off on. I thought continuing to have student learning aims is important. The forward work needs to continue. We talked about that. Our facilities committee has been working on sustainable financial and facilities paths, a growth project, air quality for this building. Also looking to the future about what future revenue enhancement might be ongoing communication efforts. Fits really, really well in our strategic directions, then kind of bringing forward that public school or public student advocacy, carrying that one forward. Those are my ideas, but I'd love to hear things that you've been thinking about or that you think would be worth highlighting a priority or aim or adjustments.
We always discuss how our students are a priority, which they always are, and where to find the time to make our staff a priority as well. And I know that's right, but it's never a bullet point
Sure.
that we actually have on a piece of paper and then have a strategic direction or a timeline.
Sure.
And I don't know what that would look like, but just to say it out loud.
I mean, it's certainly something that we could add. We have our, what's the name,
Strategy team? Or is it
labor management committee has picked up the mantle of our staff wellness survey that we do. So we have been doing that survey for 2 years now, and it's going to be in their court this year to sort of move that work forward, but it's certainly, you're right, it's not called out in here, and it should be. Our belonging strategic direction talks specifically about staff. So it certainly would be appropriate to have it here.
Because I do know that if the committee is working on that, then how do we as the board support them in the board, making sure that those ideas are implemented appropriately?
Yeah, I mean, a big part would be like allocating resources, ensuring there's.
Well, yes, yeah.
Is that something that we should consider or more consider an aim around something to do with staff well-being, around some language?
I guess it would be interesting to know what the committee comes up with in general, just to see what their findings are, because it might not be something that we're able to focus on entirely, because we don't really have the information that we need as boards. Things where they can't, because they live it day to day.
Sure.
But I guess I would just like to see what their thought processes are before they do help us.
So I mean, it could be about gathering information.
Is it the wellness committee or is it?
It was the wellness committee, and after kind of languishing a little bit, realized that it probably was a better place for it to live with the labor management, because that by like decree has representatives from all of our groups on it. Where the wellness committee seems like it's one of the more volatile groups.
Yeah, without a doubt, I think we should have some focus on it. I think understanding what that focus should be is probably first step.
Sure.
Maybe
Like some kind of an indicator or something like that. We look at what do we think the factors are that influence quality of life for staff.
Yeah, we haven't made that data very public, so that I think that they'll be a part of this. So we could add it. That's the will of the group. We could add another aim that would have something to do with gathering information, responding to information around staff well-being. I can work on some language between now and when you see this again, for you to take another pass at, if that's the will of the group.
I think, so when I'm just looking at the strategy documents, and what for our teams, we went from 7 last year, and right now we have 5, and then maybe 6, unless we can combine something. I also want to just be cognizant of how many things we focus on without diluting the efforts.
Right.
So it's the staff well-being kind of in understanding where things are. Does that trump levies? Or does it get maybe applying it to one of them? Is there anything that's close enough that it can be a subset of?
There was, or part of two, if my memory is correct, there was one of the priorities had to do with staff.
In forward.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it could be, I mean, it could be that an option could be that it's its own standalone aim. An option could be that, we're calling out, like being sure to call that item out as part of the forward work too. That would be an option.
And maybe we don't have to call it out, and say we know it's a subset. Because I also don't want to call out, so two aid is staff.
Yeah.
What about all the other aides?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we it's cheap.
In my brain, I had combined it with the third sustainable financial facilities path. It's a resource. Staff is a key resource.
Our goal to, when is our goal to end this? Or do we have a date specified?
These would come back to either the next board meeting or the board after that. Is that what you mean? Yeah. And you can sit with it, you can sit with it between now and then too if you want.
Maybe we can, as a board, can just share your thoughts or your words right now.
Yeah.
Next meeting.
Sure.
We want to add.
Okay.
But I just have that because then we can get on the measurable definition. Because the 2026 school year is comes over in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2 weeks. One shoulder here.
It's crazy.
Oh, it'll lay up there to the TV.
Yeah, my children actually know.
There's a song called "You're Gonna Miss This."
Listen, I get it, as a parent. I don't want my children to not be at home, I want them to not try to stop, like, I want them to not be killing each other in my home. Yes.
Any other comments or feelings about these 5 that you want to talk about publicly, or anything you think's missing?
I think these 5 are very strong.
I do, and I think it's a reasonable amount to look at. Something that if it gets to be too big, then you don't look at the whole thing, but I think this is a pretty concise, well-developed set of aims for us.
Are you okay then handling it, that if you have thoughts about it, just communicate with me directly, and I'll kind of put together some sort of another pass based on that for you to see at board meeting? Is that what I want to get on?
Yeah. What the goal would be to approve it next week.
That would be Tom? Okay. Well, that's that.
All right, next item is a levy update from Matt and Alex.
So, I thought that it would be good just to sort of have Alex give you an overview of the arc, that will be on here for the next 4 months with the levy, and just kind of refresh what that looks like. So we've got some slides, just quickly walk through the levy process, as we get into the fall.
I bet this was some of the issues we were having. All right.
Yeah, so, I have to say, it's a really quick overview of just the process, so, when you're talking about it, here, there's some points. Okay. So yeah, this is just kind of step one for the levy process. On a very basic level, levy obviously is the authority that the school board has to tax residents. Revenue from the levy goes to all sorts of things, obviously operations, facilities, lots of different things. So, and it's a very important part of our overall revenue that we depend on. There's several components to the levy, but on a simplified level, there's a general fund, which is generated based on your median property value, set of formulas. Community service levies, so local community supporting what we provide for not just our students, but adults as well. And then debt service, so whether it's voter approved or not, get levy to cover its prior obligations. And then long-term facilities, important for us, especially as we're talking about some other facilities projects. So kind of the timeline with this is we're actually starting now. The levy system is open with the Minnesota Department of Education entering some information on lots of different things, but we're looking at what we're doing with our local optional revenue, which is the board has already set. Calculating how sparsity, for example, which is distance to your next year's high school, things like that. Long-term facilities will help that too, but leases, we have the authority to lay cover leases, and then OPEB with the authority to cover that liability. So all things that we'll be talking about then in September, by September 30th, the school board needs to approve the proposed levy. Our board meeting is on the 21st. So that's plan to bring that forward. And maybe after we get the information put in August, they'll release what's called the levy limitation. That is the maximum amount that the district can tax residents. It's based on lots of factors, which is ADMs, property values, tax base, and the district can not levy any more than this authority that is probably in here shortly. What you'll see in September probably won't, I mean, it won't have a number. It'll just say the resolution will just be to accept the maximum authority. It's been on board for a while. And so in between that and our truth and taxation meeting, which is in December, things might be tweaked just based on, you know, and we might change things. Some taxes, like there might be errors that get, but by the board opting to authorize the maximum authority, that's okay. It can happen in the meantime. And also in the meantime, the county will send out a little postcard with your proposed taxes, and that is based on what we ought to do in September. Yeah, and then I'm not sure exactly what the date is in December, but truth and taxation meeting, I'll do a presentation on the budget and the levy, and have an opportunity for anyone to ask questions from the public if they wish. And we will adopt the final levy that evening, which will be at 6 o'clock.
get that all submitted to the county. Yeah, so it's really, like Matt said, it's a 4-month process. Any questions on any of this? So as you recall, in July, the board approved a resolution relating to some facility bonds that were, I think it's been talked about several times. The district has a lot of facility needs, mostly consisting of roofing, but also HVAC, especially this building here. The law changed to allow for districts to now use their levy authority to cover roofing needs like this. The district also has a unique kind of situation right now because Matt mentioned we'll have bonds that were paid off. We have some reserve or some leftover for bonds, so we can utilize what they call bond refunding to lessen the impact if we were to move forward with this. And also the debt structure, there's some debt maturing in just a few years down the road, allowing us to structure the debt or the payments in a way that it's very minimal impact to the taxpayers. So the resolution was for 11.13 same age. 11,130,000, not to exceed. As Matt said, this was submitted to the state. Talking about what you're going to see in September, it's going to say maximum, and everything gets approved, which that payments for that first year included in that maximum. That makes sense. Kind of a lot of moving pieces there.
I think one of the things this kind of ties back to earlier, Stephen, the beginning slide. So Alex right now in his office, they are working on the audit for money that was spent in 2020. Some of it was spent in 2025. Because this is the 2024, right? Because the 2020, I see this is so confusing again, right? So you're working on the fiscal 26 audit right now. Yeah, so money that was spent in 2025. And we're talking about, so that's happening. We're living in the fiscal 27 year now, and we're talking about levy that's payable in 2027. So Alex, and I mean, all of us are living it, but Alex and his office are really living in 3 different calendar years all at once.
Yeah, exactly. That's just part of the way that levy's structured too. We're talking about the 26th levy payable in 27. So doing levy now in 26. Taxes are collected in 27. It's the next pay in October, and then it's finally reconciled in 28. So
yes, it's really more. It's 4 years. Yeah.
No, it's like, I appreciate the work you're doing. How does this compare, existing,
there's an aspect of it. And as part of the long-term facilities plan, we had a whole narrative with detail on how we're using money. Like I said, that's with MDP right now. If they approve that, then they will add that onto our levy authority.
I think you'll see a historical look at our levy. Yeah, subsequent slide here. I think that's.
Yeah, so just to be clear that when what's approved September on the 21st, that will include that plan that we talked about.
And the levy that you approve this fall will include the payment that's a part of this, not all of it.
Yeah. We had talked about making that an item on our working session agenda for the 14th of September. Yeah, and this is the levy history, is that, thank you. And see what's happened in the last 5 years. Also have got lucky on timing situation as well, with those old debt bonds paid off, there was the opportunity to add more to the pay as you go for the so as Apple. I think we're in our third year of kind of getting up to the level we need. Still a little bit of, still some fun remaining of the trust. So,
I think too, just to highlight, of the entities that contribute to that property tax statement, you know, the city and the county and us, for instance, we're the only ones that get a packet from their, you know, organizational body like MD that says this is what your levy is. Or this is what your levy potentially is. You don't have the authority, you don't have the same authority that the city council does or the county board does. It's different for school districts, so I think it's unique, but important that our community understands too. It's different.
To clarify that, though, the 11.3 that we're saying is what we say we want to do for our district. The Department of Education has to approve that. If they approve it, we go for it.
Yeah, so the $11 million is the cost of the levy is the cost of the roofing project that we're financing, right? So MDE ultimately has to say, yes, this project, this $11.1 million project fits the intent of the law and therefore qualifies for LTFM funding that you could then pay for with LTFM levy. So that our payments on that $11 million would come out of that LTFM levy. Yeah.
But it's all very specific money.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah, the entire levy is like that. And the levy that it is the most. I should have you bring the levy document sometime. Sure. It's awful to look at. I mean, it really is awful. It's like 3 columns on a landscape paper, and it looks like it was printed in 1958 off of a Fortran computer. I mean, it's incredible. And there's a billion formulas in there, and it's
45 pages.
yeah, it's 45 pages of formulas. It's unbelievable. And to your point, Tom, it's very targeted. You know, this formula is for this, that creates this funding that has to be spent on that. Yeah.
And it's quoted all the way through the billings here.
All the way through.
Straight
Yeah.
through.
That's right.
That's it. Comes in for that goes out. So if the estimate was under, it's just coming out of our general.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
But if it's the other way, you can't use it.
Can't use it for, you know, you can only use it for that use. Carry it over potentially, but, that's only in some cases too. Yeah, it's great. It's unique. Any questions for Alex on the levy? Just kind of wanted to give, like I said, an arc over the next 4 months. What's ahead? Like he said, we'll be circling back to this on September 14th in a work session as we tee up that September 21st approval. So you have a couple of chances to see this before we, you know, have to get those decisions going. If there are any questions, that's all we have, Mr. Chair.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.
Is there any other business coming for the board? All right, we're here.
Thank you.
It's got a emergency message. This is an emergency message. Your for warning.
I just got it too, yeah. It's not here yet, but I just looked at the radar. I got the same thing and it's headed this way though, which is hot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're talking and I can't stop coming out because the throat dries up or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
But
problem.
thank you.
You're welcome.
They're quiet.
So what?
They're funky, but they have their.
Oh, no.
They're quiet, those usually talk to the board tonight during the workshop. Our whole